Today, we're going to dive into an incredible ancient story. It's about desperation, a totally forbidden act of faith, and a single touch that, well, it changed absolutely everything. It's a story that has stuck around for thousands of years, and I think it's because it speaks to this deep down human hope we all have for healing and for being made whole again. So, this story, it all starts with just one number 12. Just 12. Now, that might not seem like much, but for the woman at the very heart of this story, it was an entire lifetime of suffering. I mean, really, stop and think about it. What can happen in 12 years? A baby becomes a preteen. You could build a career, a family, a whole life, or a life can be slowly and painfully torn apart. And for the woman in our story, 12 wasn't a number of growth. It was the number of years she had been suffering, day in and day out. So let's talk about her. We don't even know her name, which is pretty telling. Her entire identity, who she was, had been completely swallowed up by her condition, a relentless, debilitating bleeding that had tormented her for over a decade. And this wasn't just a physical problem, it was a social death sentence. See, according to the religious laws of her time, her condition made her unclean. This meant she was a total outcast. The doors to the synagogue closed to her. A hug from her own family forbidden. She was untouchable, forced to live every single day completely and utterly alone. And she tried everything to get better. She spent every last penny she had on doctors, chasing any promise of a cure. But instead of helping, the accounts tell us her condition just got worse. Each failed treatment didn't just drain her bank account, it drained her body and, worst of all, her hope. But then, right when she was at rock bottom, something changed. She started hearing whispers, stories about this traveling healer named Jesus, stories about miracles, the blind seeing, the lame walking, and somewhere in all that desperation, this tiny, almost impossible little spark of faith started to glow. This one thought took over her mind. It wasn't some big, complicated prayer or a deal she was trying to make with God. Nope. It was this simple, powerful belief. If I can just touch the edge of his clothes, I know I will be healed. Now, we have to understand this plan was a huge risk. As an unclean person, she was forbidden, strictly forbidden from touching anyone. And a religious teacher in the middle of a crowd, that was unthinkable. She was risking public humiliation, maybe even a serious punishment, all for this one desperate act of faith. Okay, so picture the scene. Her chance finally comes. Jesus is passing through her village, and he is surrounded by this huge, chaotic crowd. People are pushing, shoving, all trying to get close to him. This crazy moment, this was her one shot. She throws herself into the crowd. Her body is so weak from 12 years of being sick. Every single step is a fight, using up strength she just doesn't have. Can you imagine the panic she must have felt? The crowd is moving, and her tiny window of hope is closing fast. But she doesn't give up. That one thought is driving her. If I can just touch him. This isn't about physical strength anymore. Not at all. This is the sheer force of her faith, pushing her forward when her body was telling her to quit. And then, contact. Her fingers just barely brush against the threads of his garment. And in that instant, she feels it. A jolt of power. The source says it was like fire running through her. And just like that, after 12 long, miserable years, the bleeding stopped. She knew, in her soul, she knew she was healed. But just as this wave of relief is washing over her, Jesus stops. The whole procession comes to a halt. He turns and he asks a question that must have sent ice through her veins. Who touched me? His own disciples are just baffled. You can almost hear the confusion in their voices when Peter says, "Master, look around. The whole crowd is bumping into you. What are you talking about?" But Jesus knew. He knew this touch was different. He felt power leave him. And her heart must have just dropped. She realized there's no hiding. Her secret healing is about to become a very public spectacle. Shaking with fear, she makes the choice to step forward and tell everyone what she did. Can you imagine? The crowd goes quiet. They part to let her through, and they recognize her, the unclean woman from the edge of town. She just broke the law. She defiled their teacher. Everyone is holding their breath, waiting for the judgment to come down on her. But Jesus looks right at her, and the very first word out of his mouth changes everything.
He doesn't call her unclean woman. He doesn't scold her. He calls her daughter.
Just think about that shift. In one single word, he completely demolishes her old identity. She goes from unclean woman to daughter, from an outcast to beloved family, from tormented to at peace, from hiding in the shadows to standing tall in front of everyone. This was so much more than a physical healing. This was the complete restoration of a human being. And then he says something absolutely incredible. Listen to who he gives the credit to. He says, "Your faith has made you well. Not my power, not my clothes. Your faith did this." And then he sets her free from all the years of shame, telling her to go in peace. You better believe the people who saw that never forgot it. They saw a woman crawl through the dirt and shame and walk away whole, healed, and loved. Her story of incredible courage and desperate faith was so powerful, it got written down and has been told and retold for thousands of years.
So why do we still tell this story? What's the takeaway for us right now? Well, its message is really a powerful invitation. It's for anyone who feels broken or isolated or full of shame. The message is simple. Whatever it is you're going through, whatever your 12 years of pain might be, the invitation is to come anyway.
And that's really the question this story leaves hanging in the air for all of us. It suggests that the same chance for a life-changing encounter isn't just something that happened in the past. It turns the whole story back on us and asks a pretty direct question. His garment is still within reach, so what are you waiting for?